Would you be kind enough to help us formulate our program from this point on? What music would you most like for us to present tonight?
That is difficult for me to say, because in the first place, as a composer, my position is a very humble one. As a performer, it may be better, but even there I am in great trouble. When I'm judging other artists, it's easy for me because I judge them by the standards, present standards, by the beauty of their tone, by their musicality, and as I said, and their technical achievements. With me, it's different. When I play, I always try to achieve a certain ideal, and I have never been able to achieve it. When I came near it, and when I advanced in age, well, the ideal had progressed too, so that I came never near it. So for that reason, it's very difficult for me to tell you what I like best and what I don't like best.
Yes, but you have just given us the definition of a truly great artist, one whose ideals always are far ahead of his ability to achieve them.
To achieve them.
And we would expect just that of you, Mr. Kreisler. Now, in what works would you say you came closest to those ideals? For example, we all know and love, and I don't believe there's anybody in music that I know, and this includes all the young violinists and many of the young great violinists, the younger great violinists, who do not feel that your performance, for example, of the Brahms concerto is the model of what that piece should be. Just as they do, I think, of the Mendelssohn and of the Beethoven. A choice would be very easy for me. Whenever anybody asked me what I thought you played best, it was always the last piece I heard you play. Now, maybe you can help us out.
Well, all right, then choose the portions of the Brahms concerto with Barbieri.
You liked him as an accompanist.
Very fine.
Magnificent.
Very fine. Magnificent. I cannot imagine anybody who is finer as an accompanist, a better cooperator with the soloist than he was.
It is certainly easy to understand why the Brahms concerto is so particularly close to your heart.
Well, I like the Brahms concerto better because it's associated with my childhood.
Yes.
And with my life until I was 21 years old.
When did you first learn it, Mr. Kreisler?
I first heard it play, which is funny, by Huberman.
Really?
In Vienna. He was 14 years old, and I was about 12 or 11 years old.
And when did you get to meet Brahms?
And I knew Brahms from the minute I was a pupil at the conservatory. That was when I started at 7 years. In Vienna, there was, in the conservatory itself, a little restaurant, which was a musician's club.
Ah, yes.
And Brahms was the president.
Mm-hmm.
And there was music every week, mostly chamber music. And the works of Brahms were very often played there, particularly when he had just composed them and wanted to hear them. And I remember I once played the trio, and he gave it to me and asked me to play it. And he wanted to know there is an unknown in there. C-D, very difficult to play for the violin.
Yes,
and he
sir.
wanted to know whether it could be played. And I said to him, Master, I couldn't play it because my fingers are not long enough for that, but it is playable. So you see, and he gave me that to play before it was published.
And the concerto itself, you went over it with both Joachim and Brahms many times, I'm sure.
I never studied under Joachim, and I really had no teacher after I was 10 years old.
But did you play, you played the work?
I listened to them and learned a lot from them.
Mr. Kreisler, did you not have the original manuscript of the concerto?
I had it, and I gave it to my wife made me give it to the public library. You know, Brahms was a very extraordinary man. He never thought that his concerto was fine. The concerto he loved most for the violin was the Viotti Concerto number 22 in A minor.
Really?
Yes, he wrote to Clara Schumann, who was his best friend.
Yes.
He said, tell Joseph Joachim, if he comes here, not to forget to play that concerto, because that is much for... It's funny that Viotti could do with ease what for us is next to impossible.